Sunshine, where every day is a new beginning. And today, well, we have an interesting topic. Let's talk about it. Why is pleasure actually destroying your motivation? Why is that happening? Let's talk about the truth of dopamine and the role that dopamine actually plays in purpose. First, we have to understand how dopamine, the cycle, actually works. From one scroll, it's an innocent scroll, to opening up that app, to 4 hours to 6 hours a day. So let's break down how dopamine and the cycle actually traps you, especially when you're spending hours on platforms like YouTube and X and TikTok. So you get the step one. It's the initial hit. It all starts innocent. You pick up your phone, you open the app, you're just going to take a quick break. In just one scroll, you see this funny video, an interesting fact, or a captivating story. And guess what happens? Your brain actually starts releasing a small amount of dopamine. And that is your feel good chemical. The dopamine hit makes you feel rewarded and satisfied, even if just for a brief moment. The small hit of dopamine leaves your brain wanting more. It's not enough to feel fully satisfied, so you keep scrolling a little longer. Your brain starts to anticipate the next hit before it even happens. Each new video or post will give you a small rush of dopamine. So the anticipation and the reward cycle keeps you hooked, craving the next hit. Step three, what happens? Desensitizing. That's what happens. See, over time, your brain gets used to the constant dopamine spikes. The same content that once excited you no longer even feels as rewarding. You need more videos, more excitement, and more stimulation to get the same level of pleasure. It starts to lead to actually longer sessions. So 1 hour turns into two, 4 hours turn into six. You get you understand where those days you've spent all day online, your brain actually becomes desensitized, and now only high levels of stimulation actually start to feel good. So, what happens? Step four, you neglect real life responsibilities. At this point, your brain starts to prioritize the quick dopamine hits over everything else. Simply, everyday tasks like, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, even cooking actually seem boring and difficult and downright depressing. Why? Because they don't provide the same instant pleasure as scrolling through videos. Household chores actually feel like a struggle because they require effort without immediate reward. And you start to procrastinate on things. They start falling apart around you. And then you just get more depressed, wondering why everything's falling apart. Putting off important tasks every single day because they don't give you that dopamine rush. And that's how the cycle happens. And then that leads to step five, which is, again, the loss of motivation and energy. As you spend more time on these apps, your motivation for other activities simply decline. And then you might feel tired, unmotivated, or even anxious. And you're just stressed out and you don't know why. And when you're not scrolling, your brain has become so used to constant stimulation that you actually feel depressed if you're not online. And then you feel depressed when you're online. And everything else feels dull if you're not online. But even online, you know you should be doing something else. So this leaves you with no energy and no desire to engage in meaningful activities, even things that you once enjoyed now seem like a chore that you have to do, and you just don't have the energy. So this is how you become trapped in the cycle of consumption. You feel drained, but you're unable to stop. And guess what? This also is an endless loop. So it just like it never stops. You feel unproductive. You feel guilty for wasting all your time. This is that loop. Okay, this is step six of the cycle of how dopamine actually works in modern day society and gets us trapped. So, to escape the feelings of feeling guilty, what do? You go back to scrolling because why? It gives you another dopamine hit. This creates the endless loop. You feel unmotivated, and then that leads to scrolling for dopamine hit, and then that leads to feel temporarily good. That leads to feel unproductive, and that leads to what? scrolling again. So if you want to slow that down and write it down, it's feel unmotivated, scroll for dopamine hit. Feel temporarily good, feel unproductive, and scroll again. So breaking this cycle becomes increasingly difficult because your brain is now wired to seek a quick hit, a quick pleasure. The solution, breaking free from dopamine, well, to escape this cycle, you need to reset your brain and rewire your whole system. This involves, obviously, we've heard a lot about it, a dopamine detox. And this is so easy said and so hard done. You have to take a break from social media for a set period. Some people are saying 48 to 72 hours. Start with a few hours and then try a whole day. But I think you have to just go cold turkey. Number two, to break it, you have to set limits. Schedule specific times to check those apps rather than mindlessly scrolling. Set your alarm and only do it then. And that, again, is easier said than done because it turns into an addiction. Replace with meaningful activities. So, what does that mean? You have to engage in activities that require effort, like patience. For example, exercise. You don't see an immediate result. You're not going to get buffed or lose weight from one exercise session. Reading, spending time with loved ones. Those are things that are going to require effort and patience to reap a reward. Number four, delayed gratification. Practice waiting before giving into the urge to scroll. This trains your brain to seek reward and long-term achievement. So when you feel that need that I want to scroll to break this fill-in that I have of just feeling useless because I've spent my whole time online, go ahead and journal it down. Maybe that can be the thing. That's just an ideal, but you find what works for you. But the struggle's real out there, and it is a modern day struggle that really needs more talk about and more education about because it's almost like everybody's addicted. And have you ever been with your friends and the next thing you know is everybody's got their face in their phone and nobody's talking? That's because we live in a society where we want instant gratification and not delayed gratification. But what that has done is, see, our old ancestors, well, they had to do something to get gratification. We instead get gratification and we lose all our desire to do anything. So, number five, after delayed gratification, is reflect on purpose. Remind yourself of your long term goals and how these habits are affecting your progress. Breaking free from the cycle is not easy, but it is possible. Understanding how dopamine controls your action is the first step. With conscious effort, you can actually take back your life and gain control again. And that's what we're here talking about today because that's what we all want. We want more pleasure. And then when we get more pleasure, it destroys our motivation to get really true, meaningful pleasure. So let's dive a little bit deeper. See if I can move that out of the way. Let's dive a little bit deeper as we talk about this. So, guys, if you've not already hit the thumbs up, please go ahead and do so other people can find this because I know this is a topic that a lot of us need to hear a little bit more. And this is a lot of education in this video so people can slow it down and re-listen to it because it is a deep dive into a powerful truth and it could change your life. Pleasure is destroying your motivation. We're talking about dopamine, purpose, and how breaking free from the cycle of instant gratification can help you live a more meaningful life. So stay with me because by the end of this video, you will have the tools to take back control of your mind and your destiny. Okay, so let's see. What is dopamine? In case some of us don't know, it's a chemical messenger in your brain, and it's actually called the feel-good hormone. Without it, it'd be almost impossible to live. They've actually did studies on mice, and they've took all their dopamine away, and they put the food right in front of them, and they just died because they didn't even have the dopamine to go get the food. So we need a certain amount of dopamine to just survive, to actually just eat, to have a will to live. But the problem is we usually can get it in healthy ways if we delay gratification. So we get the dopamine, for example, to garden, or we get the dopamine to do the dishes. just that desire that we want dopamine, but we actually get our hit after the dishes are done and we're like, that looks good. And the problem is now we're getting the dishes and we like that instant gratification from scrolling or something, and the dishes never get done because it steals all our motivation. So it's released when you experience pleasure. Okay, so dopamine is your pleasure hormone, like eating your favorite food, scrolling through social media, or playing video games. But here is the problem: dopamine is not just about pleasure. It's also about motivation. I think that's what I'm trying to get through when I'm telling you about the story about the dishes. It drives you to seek out the things that feel rewarding, like a clean house, for example. But who wants to get up and spend the energy for a clean house when you can grab and scroll through TikTok all day, right? And in today's world, dopamine triggers are everywhere. Your smartphone, fast food, streaming services, they're all designed to keep us hooked. The more we indulge, the more our brain craves the next hit. And that again creates the cycle of wanting more but feeling less satisfied. So, what are the consequences? How pleasure actually kills our motivation. Well, you might be wondering, why is this a problem? Because the constant pursuit of pleasure rewires your brain. You actually become desensitized to everyday joys. Things that once motivated you, like working towards your dreams or building meaningful relationships, seem downright boring in comparison. This leads to procrastinating, lack of focus, and ultimately a lack of purpose. It's not that you don't care, you've simply trained your brain to prioritize those short term pleasures over long term fulfillment. And this is why you might feel unmotivated even when you have big goals. It's like you just are like, why? So, understanding the dopamine role in motivation is going to be one of the keys to breaking free. You first need to understand dopamine's role in motivation. Dopamine is not just released when you achieve something, it's released when you anticipate achieving something. That's worth repeating. Dopamine is not just released when you achieve something, it's released when you anticipate achieving something. That's why just thinking about eating that piece of chocolate or checking your phone actually gives you a tiny dopamine hit. This anticipation is what keeps you chasing the short term rewards. In the past, with our ancestors, dopamine was meant to motivate us to do things that ensured our survival, like hunting for food and building shelter. But today, it actually drives us for quick pleasures that require minimal effort. So, the cycle of desensitization. Here's the harsh truth: the more you indulge, the less rewarding these activities feel. And guess what? This is called desensitizing. It's like the frog in the boiling water thing. Your brain needs more stimulation to achieve the same level of pleasure. And this is why one episode of Netflix turns into a full binge watching session. It's why a quick scroll, hey, I'm just going on for 3 minutes or 10 minutes to check my Facebook, or whatever social media, it becomes hours of mindless browsing. So, awareness is going to be key, understanding how the cycle happens. It's why you might find it hard to concentrate on tasks that require sustained effort, like the studying or working on your goals. You want the instant gratification. So, breaking the cycle, the power of dopamine detox. The good news is you can break the cycle, and it starts with a dopamine detox. This does not mean you are quitting all pleasurable activities forever, throwing in the towel, and it's over. It means you take a break from instant gratification. You tell yourself, that you're going to take a break from the things that come easy, like scrolling, and you're going to actually have to maybe sweep the floor to feel that little hit of dopamine. What that will do is it'll reset your brain's reward center. And then, example, guys, think of this. Try avoiding social media, junk food, or video games for 24 hours, whatever it is that you know you spend your most time. And then use this time to engage in an activity that does not give you an instant reward. So, like again, like reading, exercising, journaling, doing the dishes, sweeping the floor, organizing a closet, whatever you've been putting off and you feel guilty you ain't been doing. Try that for 24 hours because you can reset your brain. But that addiction's always there. And you're going to want to go back to it because it's easier than redoing the whole closet or sweeping the floor. And you have to be aware of that. But what you're doing is you're actually sucking away your motivation. And so start living your life with purpose. Don't just live your life, but live your life with purpose and determination that you're going to have some goals and actually get to them. Maybe it's just setting up your seeds for the garden in the spring. Whatever it is that you feel like you wish you could be doing, whatever it is you go on Facebook and you see other people doing with their fake book, their fake life, and you're like, man, I wish I could do that. But, I spend 4 to 6 hours online scrolling every day. So you'll find that these activities become more enjoyable over time. This is because your brain relearns a way to find pleasure in things that require effort and patience. And that is how you're going to reset your brain. So, building purpose through delayed gratification. It's one of the most powerful ways to restore motivation, and it's through learning to love delayed gratification. This means resisting those short term pleasures to achieve those long term goals. It's the secret behind every great achievement. Think about it. All of the people who've invented so many things that we use today failed so many times before they actually achieved that great invention. And that's because they delayed gratification. This is probably why we actually could see an explosion of inventions if we could all learn how to actually rewire our brain to love delayed gratification, to love patience instead of that instant gratification. Think about this. The athletes, the entrepreneurs, the artists all practice delaying their gratification. They sacrifice those temporary comforts for long-term success. They lost hours of sleeping because they were focused and delayed gratification. They were working, they were figuring out if it was one failure, it was one more way it didn't work. And then they would try again and they would try again. But we have lost that motivation in this modern society because we are getting our dopamine hit first and we're not doing the thing to get the dopamine hit. So when you learn to delay the gratification, you will train your brain to find motivation in the process, not just the outcome. So you will actually learn how to live life on purpose and enjoy the journey, not just the destination. So redefine pleasure. Seek meaningful rewards. Not all pleasure is bad. The key is to seek meaningful rewards that align with your purpose. Instead of mindlessly scrolling on your phone, connect with loved ones if that's your purpose. Instead of binge watching a series, read a book that challenges your mind, or shift from passive consumption to active creation. So, like, you could open your own YouTube video and create videos instead of just watching videos. Create more than you consume. Build, learn, grow. These activities not only bring you joy, but also a sense of accomplishment. And that is huge. So, purpose over pleasure. Finding your fulfillment. The ultimate way to break free from the dopamine trap is to find your purpose. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? What's the reason to wake up every single day? And I know it's not just to go online and see what everybody else is doing, but it's because we've all had more dopamine and less actually working toward dopamine in a healthy way. We're just getting instant gratification. So if you took away all the hours of scrolling, what would you find that would comfort you, that would be meaningful in your life? That's your purpose. Go do that. If it's gardening, do that. If it's playing with the kids, do that. If it is sweeping the floor, making dinner, a healthy dinner, if it's cleaning the dishes, whatever your purpose is today, I'm not talking a lifelong purpose. That's just too much. And the dopamine rush of this world, overindulgence we've had, we actually just need to find a purpose in this moment. Maybe it's just getting up and doing 5 squats. Whatever your purpose is, find something meaningful instead of just throwing life away and scrolling. Actually get out and smell the flowers. Actually go to town and whatever it is, guys, just ask yourself, what do you want to contribute to the world today? Maybe it's just a clean floor. Seriously, it doesn't have to be conquering the world. How do you want to be remembered? That's important. Do you want to be remembered as the person with their face in the phone all the time or the computer all the time? No, maybe you want to be remembered as organized and clean, healthy, um, goal oriented, love to get outside in nature, love to be with family, love to laugh. So when you live your life with purpose, you stop seeking happiness as just a temporary pleasure. Instead, you find fulfillment in the journey, in the growth, and in the impact that you actually can make on the world. So I don't want to leave you without practical steps to regain motivation, because that's what we want to do today. We want to regain our motivation. I'll get it out eventually, and take control of our lives. So let's get practical. Here are some steps that you can take to regain motivation. Guys, if you don't mind, thumbs up the video so other people can find it, and at least do it for the cute little art, okay? Okay, so number one, we're going to drop it down into steps here. Number one, to regain your motivation, identify your dopamine triggers. We all have them. For some of us, it's Facebook. For some of us, it's Instagram. For some of us, it's TikTok. For some of us, it's the news. So, whatever your dopamine trigger is, it's that activity that gives you instant pleasure but leaves you feeling empty. It's the one that takes all your time. You have to limit or avoid it. You have to cut it out. Go cold turkey. And if you do it, if you do it at all, stop the 4 to 6 hours. Do 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Set the timer. Or don't do it at all. If you try the 10 minutes and you realize you keep coming back, don't do it at all, because it's sucking your life away. Number two, set clear goals. When you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve, it's easier to resist the distraction. Number three, practice loving delayed gratification. Reward yourself only after you complete a task that reinforces motivation. Like, for example, I will reward myself with this little piece of chocolate after I sweep the floors, after I go for a walk, after whatever, you fill in the blank. Number four, engage in meaningful activities. Choose activities that require effort and contribute to your growth. Number five, reflect on your purpose regularly. Write it down on a little index card and carry it with you. What is your purpose today? Maybe you have 3 purposes every single day. Maybe you write them down on your index card, like today, I'm going to sweep the floor. Today, I'm going to go for a walk or get this many steps in. Today, I'm going to journal my food. It can be that simple, okay? We have to start somewhere. So we have to take back control. And hopefully, those 5 tips will help you. If you have the power to break free from the cycle of instant gratification, and you do have that power, it won't be easy, but it will be worth it. That I can tell you, it will be worth it. Your life is worth it. Take control of it. By understanding dopamine and choosing purpose over pleasure, you actually will regain your motivation and live a more meaningful life. So, what is your next step? Will you continue seeking temporary pleasures, or will you pursue a fulfilling life? The choice is yours. The choice is mine. But we have to choose to break the cycle. And this is a lot of facts in this video. Feel free to rewatch it. Feel free to grab a pen and paper. Write it down, because I think the subject is really meaningful and it's one that we can all relate to. I think we live in a world that, especially in America, overindulgence, over instant gratification. We don't even make our food anymore most of the time. And it's like, it's just all of that instant gratification is killing. It's literally killing and destroying our motivation. We can't achieve big goals because pleasure is destroying your motivation. I hope you guys found this helpful. I'll see you in the next video. The journey is yours. Please subscribe if you haven't. Watch some more videos. I appreciate every one of you. Have a beautiful day, and I hope this helped you.